Hello and welcome to another Nikke video. Trony's kit is officially out and I'm going to analyze her kit. Has Dorothy been dethroned? Let's find out what she brings to the game. Please leave a like and a sub and I hope you enjoy the video. So here she is, here's Trony. She's part of the electric shock squad, type attacker, weapon sniper rifle, for skill 3, code fire. Her skill 1 is called Trony Bomber and it's a passive. Activates when hitting the target with full charge. Affects the target if there are no enemies in Trony Bomber status. Cumulative damage skill for 5 seconds. Function: accumulates parts of damage inflicted by the caster. Upon reaching the maximum accumulated damage, deal damage to enemies before ending. Effect 1. Maximum accumulated damage is 1,536% of the caster's final attack. Effect 2. Accumulates 50% of damage dealt by self. Effect 3. Deals distributed damage to all nearby enemies upon reaching the maximum accumulated damage. Alright, looking at the first part of skill 1 here, she pretty much has to do a full charge shot every single time in order for this to apply. So for at any reason you do like maybe a quick shot or maybe not fully charge it, unfortunately skill 1 would not apply whatsoever. So make sure to go ahead and do a full charge shot. And pretty much how it's going to work is exactly like Dorothy's, that pretty much as soon as it's branded, it's going to do that effect 1 there, where pretty much it's going to be a maximum amount of damage you're able to do to the enemy. And in this case, it's 1,536%. As soon as that maximum amount is reached, it's going to go ahead and just do the effect 3 there, where it says deal distributed damage to all nearby enemies upon reach accumulated damage. And to make a summary of effect 2 there, since it's a little bit sometimes hard to read, it says half of the damage that Trony's deals while the skill is active is going to be stored up. That's pretty much what it's just saying there. But I'm also assuming as well that your teammates could also help you reach that amount too, since it pretty much doesn't say that only Trony herself has to go ahead and reach the maximum accumulated damage to the enemy. So it's really going to depend how skill 1 really works. I mean, we're going to have to test it out to see how it fully works. But if not, I'm assuming it's not really going to stack or reset. What I'm assuming is as soon as she does a fully charged shot, she's going to go ahead and apply just an additional damage to that enemy. And also as well, what could actually happen too is that technically with skill 1, she could actually apply this to multiple enemies at one time. Since how I already said, it only takes 1 full second to fully charge. And since she has 6 shots, and this actually, it puts a branding there for 5 seconds, she could technically go ahead and just put multiple enemies with this branding effect. And since there's a lot of Nikkes in the game that do AoE damage, like for example, Scarlet would be somebody there that would be able to go ahead and do an AoE damage that would technically go ahead and help with the maximum accumulated damage there. Not only that as well, there are other Nikkes in the game that's actually able to increase distributed damage. For example, Elig is one of those units there. So not only does Elig actually enhance distributed damage, she also applies this defense down to the enemy. Not only that as well, she also applies an attack up to the whole team as well. There are other Nikkes in the game that are able to enhance Trony's skill 1 here, but of course we have to see how it fully works out, since unfortunately the demonstration video is very, very poorly done. A dev is actually playing Trony there, if you guys don't notice, since there's only one time it ever does a full charge shot, and that's actually right before it goes to the shooting range. As soon as the shooting range goes, somebody's taking control. It never goes to 250% full charge damage, so we don't really know exactly how it works since the demonstration was pretty poor on Shift Up's part. But either way, looking at the skill 1 here, she's actually going to be able to apply a lot of damage to the enemy. Alright, now on to skill 2, efficiency increase, and it's also a passive. Activates when attacking with full charge for 5 times. Affects self. Distributed damage up 51.84% for 10 seconds. Activates when hitting the target with full charge for 5 times. Affects the target. Defense down 9.59% for 10 seconds. Alright, now looking at the first part of the skill 1 here, luckily since she has 6 ammo, pretty much is going to happen every single reload, but pretty much as soon as she does a full charge shot damage, not only does it actually distribute the damage here thanks to the 51.84% there for 10 seconds, what's going to happen too is that it's actually going to apply a defense down for almost 10% there to the enemy as well. But please note the first part of skill 2 here, this only has to be a full charge shot. This doesn't even have to land, where the second part of skill 2, this actually has to land. So please keep a note of that. And also as well, since Trony takes 1 full second in order to fully charge, without any overload gear or anything like that, luckily she's actually able to apply this right before the skill 1 actually initializes. If you're actually able to maximize accumulated damage on her skill 1, she would go ahead and enhance her skill 1 thanks to the first line of skill 2 here. And obviously as well, the defense down is going to help too. That's going to allow to do a little bit more damage to the enemy. I mean, it's not a lot, but at least it's something there. And also please note as well, for the distributed damage, it's only going to affect herself here on the first part of skill 1. If you're going to have somebody, for example, like Elig and Dorothy, this will not help them in the damage department whatsoever, unfortunately. You know, Elig will be helping Trony, but Trony will not be helping Elig there. Lastly, burst skill, Mega Trony, it's a 40-second cooldown. Effect self, attack up 101.37% for 10 seconds. Accumulated damage ratio of the accumulated damage skill up 62.83% for 10 seconds. Alright, for the first line of the burst skill here, yeah, she's going to get a tremendous attack up there, 101.37% for 10 seconds. That's going to be a very tremendous help, which is not only going to give a boost to her normal attacks, it's also going to give a boost to her skill 1 there as well. Not only that, but also on the second line of the burst skill here, accumulated damage ratio up 62.83%. Pretty much how this is going to work is if we look at actually skill 1 again, but pretty much you already know that Trony does 50% damage herself. Adding the 62.83% there, you're going to be looking at about 112.83% of damage dealt added to the maximum accumulated damage each time she goes ahead and strikes. So I'm assuming it's going to allow you to go ahead and reach that maximum potential much faster. I don't think it's actually going to increase the damage overall. Also, please note for the burst skill, it only affects herself. So unfortunately, no one else is going to get the attack up or even the accumulated damage skill up as well. It's only going to be for Trony herself. Now, for my final thoughts. Looking at Trony's overall kit, I can see she's going to be a pretty powerful Nikke, but it's mostly going to depend how her skill 1 works exactly, since unfortunately I already stated that the demonstration video didn't do a good job on showing off her skills whatsoever. I wish they did a better job there. But either way, even if it only allows 1 full charge shot per enemy until the accumulated damage skill goes away and goes ahead and apply its effect 3 there, you do got to remember that this is going to be happening every 5 seconds. Like for example, for Dorothy, even though she has a very, very high accumulated damage that she's able to do, close to 8,900 here, and Trony has 1,500 here. So even though Trony has a significantly lower compared to Dorothy there, the thing is you got to keep in mind though is that Trony is able to apply this every 5 seconds with a full charge shot. And how I already stated earlier, she has 6 shots, no problem. So either way, she's able to apply this many, many times over. Since with Dorothy's burst, pretty much that's about 20 seconds. It's a little bit lower once you go ahead and put the burst cooldown reduction that she has there. So it's a little bit lower, but technically she could apply this much more frequently than Dorothy can. And if you have Elig on the team, she'll be able to even dish out even more damage on her skill 1 here, since technically Trony's skill 2 and also burst skill here even increases her skill 1 damage even further. Once you start adding cubes and overloaded gear, she can get her charge speed and also the max ammo up as well. And not only that as well, there are other Nikkes in the game that even increase the charge speed and all that stuff like that. For example, Maxwell and Alice, they actually increase charge speed, no problem. That'll even be able to help Trony as well. And how I'm looking at her kit here, it looks like it's going to be mostly used for bosses here. I know that technically, she could put her branding on multiple enemies here, which would help for some of the additionals that get placed for the bosses. For example, Mother Whale. I mean, she could even clear a lot of the additionals that come out there. But I think she would benefit the most from taking on bosses here, since it would be much easier to go ahead and reach the maximum accumulated damage thresholds with the bosses compared to a regular unit, especially if you don't target one of those elite raptors on the field. And in terms of she is worth the pull or not, I mean, she has a very strong kit here. I could see her easily put in other teams as well. It just right now, since she is a burst 3 unit, there are some very, very powerful burst 3 units already in the game, but she does have a very strong kit. And we have to actually see how she plays, since it really depends how skill 1 actually works in the game, since we don't know 100% how it works thanks to the demonstration video being very poor. As for me, I'm going to pull on her. Since I'm a collector, I'm going to pull on all these Nikkes anyways. But if not, I mean, I do see her kit being very, very strong. It just like I already just stated, I don't exactly know how well she's going to be placed with other teams, since usually Dorothy's, like for the last solo raid, it was pretty much Dorothy was paired up, for example, like with Marciana, Scarlet, Sanice, and Privity. If not, there was like also the Alice, Crown, all these other teams as well. So it's really going to depend how she's going to be put on the next few raids that are going to be coming into the game. But honestly, how I'm seeing, yeah, she's going to be dishing out a lot of damage here. I'm assuming she's going to be very strong. But of course, like I already stated as well, there are a lot of strong burst 3s in the game. So we have to see how well she does. I mean, we're going to have to do some testing to see how well she does in order to see if she's going to take a spot for one of those already powerful Nikkes in the game. All right, that's about it. Hopefully you're excited about Trony. I mean, are you going to pull for Trony or just going to pull just for her feet? Either way, maintenance is already going on and Trony's just about to be released, so I can't wait for her to be out. And hopefully you guys enjoy the video. I'm Scrublord and I'll see you on the next one.